recently checked the votes, and as you guys know it, Monster My Friends, Creepypasta X Beast Reader won, and, because remember I told y'all too, Not Crazy to Me Slashers X Nurse Listener also won. But first, the first one I would personally like to read is Monster My Friends, Creepypasta X Beast Listener, because when I tell y'all guys, I read this and I was into it. So I would like to let y'all know also, by the way, that the author recently completed this as well, which makes it even more exciting to read it to you guys because it's so good and it has multiple endings. So yeah, that's also cooler part about it. So yeah. Anyways, getting straight into it on who we are, or what's the description say. All right, so a celebration gone wrong. What are you going to do when you awaken with a hangover, a body of fur, and the realization you're no longer human? How are you going to interact with your neighbors who call the woodlands their home? Hello everybody, so I would like to give you guys a couple of warnings for ahead. There's going to be versions of death, accidental murder, and just plain murder. In a very, I would say in a very, like, it doesn't specify too much, but it's like the type where, like, ooh, that sounds terrible. And there will also be sound effects of gunshots and just weapons. So if you ain't comfortable with that, please don't watch this. Back to the video now. And this is an ex-listener, and and then they said that our name won't be used because y'all will understand as soon as we get really into it. It's a really good story, I promise. It's so like when I tell you I found this story and I got hooked and read it every fucking day. Oh my goodness. Anywho, prology. Or wait, hold on. Let me make sure this is okay. So this is the prology. Okay, 100% prology, not chapter 1. Where am I? It's cold. It's wet. I can hear the rain. I can smell the forest. I'm hungry. My body aches. My head hurts. Slowly opening my heavy eyes to reveal a hazy image of my surroundings. Seems I'm laying in a clearing full of tall, dead grass, outlining by bending trees that protrude as high as the clouds. If I recall correctly, I was partying with a few college classmates. I can't seem to remember what happened after I had a bit too much to drink and fell asleep early. I'm thirsty. I think there was a spring close to here. I moved my tired body across the wet ground. I have no idea what I did during the night of drinking that had caused my body to hurt so much. My friends would laugh at me if they saw the famous plus A student dragging themselves across the ground on all fours in the rain. Pulling myself to the edge of the small spring, I was about to attempt to pull water in my hand to bring it to my mouth. However, my biceps stung too much to leave my side. I glance around the area, hope no one is around to notice what I'm about to do. Looking at the water, my tongue felt unusually long. It was embarrassing to drink like a dog, though. It quenched my thirst immensely. I attempted to stand up. My muscles may be sore, but that is no excuse to lay around in the dirty mud. When I tried to push myself onto my own 2 feet, I was imbalanced and fell back into my hands. I attempted again. My arms buckled underneath my falling body, falling face first into the stream of water. What the hell? Am I still drunk? I paused for a moment, catching a glimpse of my reflection in the spring water. I was taken aback. Staring back at me was a large, round, bush-looking creature. A plain, eyeless mask replaced its face like someone glued a fingernail to a pom-pom. It was not a scary appearance, but it wasn't cute either. I still had to look over my shoulder more than once, hoping it was behind me and not the first thought that had crossed my mind. Nope, nothing there. The only reflecting in the water is me. My stomach growled, pulling me from contemplating my reality. Oh, that's right, I had forgotten. I'm hungry. Now, before anyone says anything, no, this is not Seed Eater. Seed Eater is a completely different character from what we are. We are completely, pretty much fucking different. So I would like to let you guys know. Now officially, Chapter 1. I stared at my reflection for a few hours to come to terms that I was not, in fact, dreaming. That my body was somehow replaced by a quadruple bird poof thing, about the size of a fuzzy, fat horse. My hands and feet are scaly. My face is covered by a white, blank, teardrop face-shaped mask. I had returned to my little camp area my classmates and I had chosen for the party location, only to find it abandoned aside from my assigned tent that had been left drooping and soggy. My classmates and I were not exactly friends. Friendly, I suppose, but not the extent that I would greet them every time our paths crossed. As for my family, I had traveled overseas to attend college. I was a loner with them, always locked in my room, never imitating contact. They would not notice my absence for a good while. There is nothing for me here. Not anymore. I pulled my clawed hand to my face. It was more of a talon look to it now, I suppose. I can't go anywhere close to town like this. My stomach twisted and turned, rumbled like a thunder in my gut. I had to eat something before I black out again. I turned for the mouth of the forest. Cantering? Is that how I say it? Cantering? For the trees in a random direction. Perhaps I'll find some berries to snack on. But, I was making good pacing through the bushes. Seems this body can maneuver around unleveled ground fairly well despite its shape. And the rain trickles down the fur like grass. How does the saying go? Water off a duck's back and all that. Another growl emitted from my stomach. Something smells heavenly. The rain did not dampen it one bit. My mouth watered ceaselessly at the stench waving the area. My pace quickened. It's like walking home after a hard day's work, mentally and physically exhausted, and someone's having a barbecue in their backyard. I have to join in. I have to get a piece of that. Understandable. My nose took me to the foot of a rock face. A good 6 meter drop off. I sniffed around. I didn't even notice my tongue hanging out of my mouth. There, laying under the rock face, was the decaying carcass of an old buck. Or buck, whatever. Its body laid impaled on its own altar. Its head stuck facing the sky, and the smell coming off of it was putrid, yet enticing. I honestly could not believe myself for thinking such a thing enticing. I felt nauseous all of a sudden, but I could not take my attention off from its milky eyes. I can almost see some regret in them, for living so long only to die in such a way. My stomach demanded that I make use of this body, this empty husk that once was a beautiful animal that may have fathered many families. I felt faint as I approached the body. I don't want to have the regret this old man did. I took a bite. The flesh, however, was not easy to chew with my lack of teeth. I resorted to tearing it away from the bone, swallowing it whole while tears filled my eyes to mix with the rain. It's good. I hate it. Is this my life from now on? If this is some god-sick game, like hell I'm going to die while playing it. God damn. Chapter 2. The rain has begun to fall harder. Lightning flashed over the mountain range and thunder shook the earth below my feet. I felt lost, truly alone out here in this forest. I've been tracking in a random direction for days now, regaining energy from barriers and roots sprouting from the grove. After ingesting as much as I could from the carcass, I've stayed away from meat. I'm by no means a tree hugger, but that was not a first I wanted to experience. I'm unsure how far I've traveled. I'm able to see what's in front of me clear as day, and the cool wind is not a bother. However, it would be good to have some sort of shelter at least. Arriving atop a hill, I can see the streetlights in the distance. If I follow those, I'll find a town. Maybe I can hide out in an abandoned building? No, I'm too big to fit through any window or doorway. Maybe I can hide in a cave and raid garbage cans at night? Though I'm not a raccoon, and that's a good way to get caught, I'm in no hurry to end up in a zoo or lab. I took my feet under the massive amount of hair and collapsed by the roadway. This is ridiculous. I'm already starting to think like a homeless criminal. Perhaps I'm more adaptable than I have given myself credit for. As I'm thinking to myself, a pair of headlight become visible down the road. Oh shit. I'm a bush. You can't see me. I hide my masked face behind my body. The vehicle squeezes by without slowing down. Loud rock music disappearing down the road with it. Crinkled newspaper had been whipped up by tailwind, landing a foot away from me. I took a glance at it. Wisconsin? I look both ways on the road and swiftly cross. I feel like there has been a lot of news about the people here, or was it what was happening to the people? So, as I tracked back to the forest areas, I took a glance at the starless sky, and something occurred to me. Aren't I some sort of weird bird thing? Should I now have the ability to construct a nest or something? I picked up a stick off the ground and glanced at the surrounding trees. This could work. I need a good tree. I distanced myself from the roadway. In doing so, I ended up in a highly dense part of the forest area. The trees were skinny but tall and close enough together in some areas I could use more than one. Approaching the trunk of the tree, I gripped myself. Let me read that again. Approaching the trunk of a tree, I gripped myself to the bark as hard as I could. Okay, I'm an intelligent person. I'm fully able to skillfully construct some sort of structure or shelter, or even without being a bird thing. It'll be fine. I'll be fine. It's been a good half hour, and I've learned a few important things about myself. That being, I'm not good at climbing. I suck at building nests, and worse yet, I have a severe case of vertigo. I don't know what that means. Regardless, I have made a decent ways up the tree and have constructed a good-sized platform that is able to hold my body. I'd say that's a success. Placing the last of my sticks upon the platform, I realized just how exhausted I am. Now that I'm sure I wouldn't fall or this thing will collapse underneath me, I tucked myself into a warm ball and attempted to sleep for the first time in days. Ah, yes. I can see the dream world closing in on me. Relaxing, warm, and guess what? We fell. Okay. Chapter 3. Instantly, fully alert, I scanned the surrounding area below my perch. That loud noise was a gunshot, was it not? There are people this deep in the woods during a thunderstorm? It's not hunting season, far from it. If they're crazy enough to endanger themselves, they must be poaching. My eyes locked onto a man not 10 feet from my tree, rifle in hand. He has an irritated look on his flushed face. Seems he's not having the best of luck. He drunkenly pulled a cigarette from his jacket and began to hobble away to the direction of the town. Just like that, my peace was gone. I had a feeling I would see that man again, and I don't believe it will be in the best of circumstances. I was unable to sleep deeply after the hunter left and the clouds cleared. The nocturnal woodland critters would not shut their mouths. Seems I have a neighboring nest of owls. Joy. I begin descending the trunk of the tree, carefully feeling out for the branches. If I had to be a bird in any way or form, I wish that I had been blessed with wings. Though, I do have vertigo, so I suppose it would not matter. I don't know what that means, but yeah. We're gonna look that up later, I think. I don't know. As my back feet touch the ground, I am able to breathe a sigh of relief. Then take a good whiff of the air. Earthy smells that drunk guy some last night. Nothing interesting or new. I suppose I should get to know the area. It would be good to locate a water source. Prancing through the thick growth of the forest, I make as many notes in my head about the area that I can, leaving claw marks on tree trunks for direction, so I'm able to make my way back. I don't smell anything interesting, but I do notice a drop in humidity. There should be a body of water nearby. I push my fluffy body around through the remaining bush. And there before me sits the most pristine pond I have ever laid my eyes on. I take a step forward, but jump back and hide behind the thickest brush behind me. Across the lake are two human figures. They are wearing the brightest colored jackets, yellow and tan. They're facing away. It seems to be conversing. I don't think they will be able to see me from this distance. So why did I hide? I was contemplating to swiftly gulp down some water, then book it back the way I came. But the two men were joined by a being that seemed to appear from thin air. He was tall, horribly so, fully dressed in black. The two brightly colored clothes bowed respectfully to the being before disappearing in the darkness of the tree line. The tall man was about to follow. However, he stopped and turned my direction. Instantly, a heavy wave of unease and tension surrounded me, as though my whole being was being paralyzed. Shit, please don't see me, please. I was frozen. The man was staring at me with his non-existent eyes. Oh shit, I'm dead. He doesn't have a face. I covered my mask, shaking. But the man turned back around and vanished as though he was never there before. As quick as it came, the strain and tension was gone. I have no way of proving it, but I'm sure he saw me. He knew I was here. I shuddered. My fur was standing on its ends. I took a deep breath through my beaked mouth to steady myself. I practically rolled down the embank, slurped up as much water as I could in a matter of seconds, and hoofed it back the way I came. Water source secured. I'm going home. Hell no, bro. I'd be scared. Oh my goodness. Bro, I'd be terrified. I don't know how you did that, but you did that. Oh my goodness. I'd be scared. I could never, bro. Oh my goodness. Hell no. I'd book it as soon as he even, but that wouldn't be smart because then he'd hear us and then, teleport, kill us, but still, like, the human instinct, like, we just turned into this thing, so yeah, anyways, oh crap, I might actually, you know what, just ignore the last parts I said, that might be spoilers by accident. Why did I say this? Anyways, chapter 4. It's been a week, and I have not re-encountered the brightly colored cloth guys and the tall man. I kept a low profile for a day or two with nothing out of the ordinary. I have, however, regained my appetite for meat. Mostly smaller, meager animals like turtles that live around the watering hole. A lizard here and there, nothing fancy or dead. I had spotted the hunter guy once or twice while I was out. However, he had a companion with him this time. Guess he's getting tired of going home empty-handed. Gotta watch my back. I've also noticed the deeper in the forest I go, the more unfamiliar smells there are, mostly of people, blood, and some other undefinable smells. I tend to not travel that far if I can help it. There are a lot of abandoned cabins with untouched work sheds in that area. Using a variety of tools and objects, my shelter now has roofing made by tying larger branches and twigs with rope, and torn sleeping bags as insulation. It's still quite small, but a nice bed if anything. I had ventured around town at night out of sheer boredom and interest. Ended up giving a girl who had snuck out a heart attack. Her reaction honestly hurt my feelings. I didn't even do anything and she just screamed her pretty little head off. I stayed away after that. Presently, I'm collecting wild walnuts. It's amazing how many I can fit in my mouth before having to backtrack home. I've collected a good amount. My content moment is ruined by a loud scream in the distance. It sounded like a little girl. What's a little girl doing in the woods? Oh no, is she being attacked by a cougar? I practically fell out of my tree to race in the direction the scream came from. My full speed is more of a teetering hop that may have contributed to my back foot catching a root. My body rolled in on itself from the momentum and I tumbled through the thick with the velocity of a boulder. Within seconds, I collected through a solid form. Then, again, with a stronger object that halted my spinning. Regaining myself, I stood up straight. I smelled of blood, and I felt sick from spinning otherwise all right. I glanced around. The drunk hunter was standing a good distance from me. He seemed oddly sober at the moment, his face full of horror. Before him was a little girl in a pink dress. Her emerald eyes full of tears, but a look of surprise on her face. And beside her, the crushed and scattered remains of the hunter's companion. His blood trailed from his carcass through the divot I made while spinning. So covered a good amount of my body. I had not yet comprehended the situation. Still trying to steady myself, my mask seemed to have flown off my face during my fall. I probably looked menacing. As the dust cleared, I gagged a bit. Holy shit, the smell of blood is strong. The hunter flinched a bit, mistaking my gag for a sign of aggression. He moved his rifle from the little girl to me. He thought better of it after looking at the remains of his friend. He turned his tail and ran. The girl and I watched him vanish through the trees. She then got to her feet and dusted off her knees. For a moment, I thought she would run too, but instead, she retrieved my plain mask from the forest floor and raced to my side. She hopped up and down excitedly, her emerald eyes glistening with interest as she offered me my mask. I wondered what my face looks like. I had not removed the mask myself, as I had not been ready to see my reflection. I had been startled enough with my body. She returned my mask to my face. I'm surprised it's able to stick without anything to hold it in place. I glanced back at the girl. She was still looking at me with fascination. Then she reached her hand out to stroke me. She did hesitate a little, but still began dragging her hand down the side of my hair. Wow, you're so soft! She then hugged me. What's wrong with this kid? I'm not sure how to feel about actually being treated like an animal. Suppose it's better than her running. Hurts my pride more than my heart. I noticed the blood steadily dripping from her forehead. Oh crap, kid. Did those people do that to you? I then noticed the amount of blood covering my body. Right, I killed someone. I'll appease myself because I say a girl. So it's fine, right? The girl let go of me. My name's Sally. I'm gonna call you... Oh no, please don't name me. Sally thought for a moment, then squealed. I'll name you Pom Pom. Hell no. Chapter 5. I took Sally to the pond to wash off. I was a little nervous, as I don't know if I'm able to swim in this form. Sally, however, jumped straight in and began to splash around. The water was just below her knees, so it should be fine. I slipped off the bank and into the water. It was not warm, but not cold water. The weeds growing in the sand was not a nice feeling on the feet. I began washing off, flickering water onto my body and with my legs and masked face. Sally tried to help also, splashing me while she giggled. Pom Pom splashed me too. So I did. I used more force than intended, and the wave of water knocked her over. I rushed to her side and lifted her out of the water with my beaked mouth, carrying her to the shoreline. She was still giggling as I placed her on her feet in the sand. The cut on her head continued to bleed, but did not seem to hinder her. I don't even know if she had noticed. She flung her arms into the air. Now I'm all clean too. She looked up at the sky above the clearing, her face strained for a moment. I hope Daddy comes for me soon. It's getting dark. I was at a loss of what to do. I'm damn near certain this kid has no idea to get home, and I obviously don't know where she lives. I tap on her shoulder to get her attention. She was smiling, but I can see tears starting to form in the corner of her eyes when she looked at me. Ugh, I'm gonna have to take her home for the night, aren't I? Starting in the direction of my nest, I turned to glance at her, nodding my head in the direction I'm headed. Follow me then. I'll house you for the night. She seemed to understand and jogged after me. The sun had completely vanished before we made it to said destination. I wasn't bothered, but Sally had trouble finding her footing, so sorted to using my long strands of hair as a lead. In hindsight, it would have been faster to throw her on my back and carry her, but we were at the base of my tree. Sally tugged on my hair. Hey, Pom-Pom, are we there yet? I attempted to grunt in affirmation, but it came out more of a gurgle. I took a hold of the scruff of her dress. She squeaked and wiggled as I began clawing my way up the tree into the mouth of my home. I got myself settled before letting Sally down. She shifted around a lot, tossing and turning, touching every side of the shelter. Wow, it's like a treehouse. You just see sparkling lights. For a moment, there I would have agreed, but realizing they have no idea that I have no way to power such a thing. I huffed and closed my eyes. I'll take the kid to the outskirts of town tomorrow. Someone would find her and get her home. No more effort on my part. I peered through one eye at her sleeping figure. She was uncomfortably close to my body, and her breath were rather heavy. I don't think I'll catch any sleep tonight, but... I closed my eyes once more and tuning out the extra noise and focused on the crickets chirping. It seemed to work all right until Sally shifted once more and ended up with a soaked foot in my face. It was going to be a long night. Bruh, I'm gonna have like the worst sleep ever. Anyone try to save me and then I have to sleep really near them? Yeah, you're not gonna be sleeping. Straight up, you're not gonna be sleeping. So yeah, get ready. Like you're gonna feel like you're gonna know what it feels like to be an insomniac and not being able to sleep. Like not like for one, depending on how long you have to sleep with me. Yeah, it isn't going to be pretty unless you're also a crazy sleeper too. This is very extremely relatable. Alright, y'all, so we're in chapter 6. The sun had arisen. Last night's frost was twinkling in its light. The morning bird's song would have made a peaceful wake-up call if I had actually slept. I could feel the weight of the bags under my eyes. There was no sleeping with this kid. She would shift and flop and giggle in her sleep. Not to mention the line of drool practically pouring out of her mouth onto my back. It's not like I regret putting up with her for the night. The temperature had suddenly dropped and the fog and forest clung to the forest trees. Typical for a spring, I suppose. I have to adapt to the northern climate. Sally herself began to stir at my side. She had snuggled closer to me before cracking her eyes open. She seemed confused, trying to understand where she was before shooting up and glancing around. After a second, she had recollected herself, turning her attention to me and giving me a smile. She tiredly rubbed her eyes and yawned, "Good morning, Pom-Pom," before helping herself to the huckleberries I had stored away in an abandoned plastic bag. I grumbled back to her before getting up and looking out of the hole I had for an entrance. I had made a habit of knowing what's outside the door after a close encounter with a bear. Thankfully, it was terrified of me and ran after I screamed an alarm. I glanced back to Sally. She was wiping off her face that had been painted red from the berries. I took a hold of her dress once more and steadily began creeping down the tree. It had been easier taking her into the nest than out, as she was flailing out an awkward and unstable angle. The moment we reached the ground, I attempted to release her as she shrieked and struggled more. Sally did not want me to let her down. She glancing back at me with tears in her eyes. "It's cold. My feet are cold." I had not fully realized her lack of footwear until now. No shoes in sight, but a single sock on her left foot. Her legs were covered in scrapes and bruises. I had her keep a fast pace while taking her home last night. No doubt at least half of these are from then and she didn't complain once. Perhaps I should carry her? It would be faster than have her walk herself, and I did feel some guilt. I say, but I have no idea on how to get this kid onto my back. I can't just walk through the forest holding her by the back of her dress. And not only would she freeze like this, her dress was awfully short. I tried to fling her upon myself, perhaps a little hard. She yelped when coming to contact with my side, but grabbed a hold of my fur for stability. While I attempted to push her up with my beak, she was pulling herself up with shaky arms. It was an awkward hustle, but she did manage to get herself upright, her eyes sparkling as she patted me, lifting her finger in the air and declaring quite loudly, "Hee-ho, pom-pom, away," before kicking me in the sides. No, we're not doing this. Still, I did begin to walk in the direction of the town, using common landmarks in the area for direction. Sally was happily humming openings to shows for kids her age. It was irritating, but I did catch myself humming along with her. During the travel, the sun had suddenly melted the frost and dispersed the fog. A cool wind blew through the woodlands, wiping a variety of different small smells. Some from town, some from the woods, and the scent of blood right before us. I caught the scent a moment before pushing through the branches blocking my path. There, gorging on the remains of what I believed to be a dog, sat a lanky, naked beast. Its long, bony, claw-like fingers held chunks of flesh to its very human-shaped face, and its milky white eyes stared at me menacingly, daring me to try and take its meal from it. Its gaze went from me to what was on my back in an instant. I could feel Sally shaking upon me. She whined weakly, gripping my hair tightly and tugging at the roots. I was perplexed. She did not act this way when she saw me, so why this creature? That is when it occurred to me that she knew what this thing was, and she was terrified of it. Sally took a deep breath and leaned her body flat against my back, whispering, "Daddy, Daddy," as she vibrated. "Daddy, the rake." We run! I cannot leave y'all on a cliffhanger like that. Oh goodness, y'all already probably gonna kill me from the last cliffhanger I accidentally left y'all, but I promise it's already been posted. I don't want to hear complaints. One more chapter wouldn't hurt. One more. Chapter 7. I'm not sure how the quick response was as this rake creature shifted in my direction. My body reacted upon itself. My muscles tensed. My breathing deepened. I spun around so fast, Sally had almost flung off. I had subconsciously bolted from the situation. I was scared. It was awkward running at full speed for the first time, but the adrenaline kept me from flinching at the trips and scrapes from my exposed limbs. I could clearly hear the creature pursuing us. Its noisy inhalations gurgled along its saliva. It screeched shrilly when it suddenly began to lose its gain. Seems it's having trouble pushing through the branches and foliage compared to my large body. The advantage giving me a few good paces ahead. I had no proper direction to follow. When I bolted, it was random. We were no longer headed in the direction of town or my settlement. I was running blindly. Sally clung on for dear life. Every thoughtless movement on my end would threaten to throw her from her seating. She was whispering to herself with her eyes clenched shut. She flung open her eyes as the rake began swiping at my heels. "Pom-pom left!" she shouted. With such demand and veracity, I followed as commanded before fully comprehending her words. Jolting my body in a V-line, my weight shifted onto my limbs on the right, almost rolling myself over. Fortunately, the slim trees acted as a bumper, they caving in on themselves and toppled loudly to the ground. The rake had not expected the sudden redirection and had flown past us and out of sight. I had a moment to recompose myself. Sally seemed to have calmed herself as well. She held on to me upright and stared straight ahead with a determined gleam in her eyes. Under normal circumstances, I was refrained greatly from trusting the judgment of a child. Unlike her, however, I lack an idea how to get out of this mess. Sally continued to direct me. I could barely make out two silhouetted figures in the distance, seemingly awaiting us. The rake had regained its distance, continuing to swipe at my heels with its bony clawed fingers before nicking my Achilles tendon, and oh, did it hurt. My body lurched forward. The nose that had left my mouth from the searing pain was high-pitched, almost horse-like. Sally let out a startled scream as she was thrown forward from my back, my body tucking in on itself as I once again steamrolled forward, speeding between the two surprised figures, Rick skating off a large willow tree. Like, bro, oh my god. I'm sorry, it's so random. It's funny, I'm sorry. Anyways, seriously. For a moment, my body pinballed off the surrounding trunk trees, picking up momentum at a frightening pace. After being hurtled back the direction I had come, the rake, who had arrived in the chaos moments ago, had frozen as my body launched in its direction, colliding and set the creature hurling back through the forest in and out of sight. Okay. I had re-emerged from the foliage, tearing back and forth. Everything was still spinning, and the blood running down my right hind leg did not help with the nausea. It did not hurt much, though, as I was not too concerned about it for the moment. I was concerned about Sally. Whipping my head around in each direction before casting my eyes to the two figures. Upon further inspection, they're the two guys I encountered across the pond side, one of which cradled Sally safely in his arms. Both men were eyeing me up and down. They stayed low and ready to move if action was needed. They were treating me like a rabid freaking animal, and honestly, it pissed me off a little. I may find the child annoying, but like hell, I'll leave her in the hands of strangers. I took a step forward. The guy in the yellow hoodie pulled a gun from behind his back and released the safety. I froze. Sally began to wiggle in the masked guy's arms. No, don't hurt him. He refused to let her go, holding her tighter and whispering something that caused her to struggle harder. I pushed my body up and stood as tall as I could. I am unsure if I was the steadily increasing irritation. I don't know if it was the steadily increasing irritation or the adrenaline still coursing through my veins that caused such an irritational reaction. Either way, I felt a burning sensation rising from the back of my throat. A low menacing growl crawled from under my mask. He pulled the trigger. I'm so sorry, guys. I said this is the last chapter, and I must keep this promise to myself. I'm sorry for leaving y'all guys on this cliffhanger, but y'all gonna have to deal with it, okay? I promised myself, and I will complete my promise until I read this next time again. Anyways, what do you guys think is gonna happen next? Do you think he actually shot us, or do you think he actually shot a warning shot, or do you think the freaking the gunshot deflected us? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm not giving any spoilers because anyways, I do hope you guys do enjoy. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more amazing videos, guys. Honestly, this shit is lit. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. But when I tell you this book is lit, it is lit. I've been dying to read this book to you guys for so long. And I was like, finally, I was like, yay, let's put it in a vote. And you guys voted for it. I'm so happy. Like, this book, I finished reading it like a while, like, I don't know, like 1 or 2, like maybe like this, like last month, I think, which was, I can't remember, but it was good. This is a good book. So yeah, it's gonna get interesting. It's gonna get very mysterious, per se, and we're gonna meet a lot of the characters and all that, and it'll be really, really badass. We have currently met the Rake. I presume that we have met Masky and Hoodie, or just Hoodie, because they said 2 figures, so I'm assuming it's Masky and Hoodie, because Hoodie is the one who usually has the Glock. I got a Glock. He's usually the one with the Glock, or Masky's with the Glock. So yeah, that's what it is. So yeah. And we also have met, not fully, but we met Slenderman. We've also met Sally as a little girl. Yeah, we always meet Sally first because she's, awesome. And yeah, so there might be some pictures of what we might look like in one of these chapters as we go on and on. I'm not too sure. we're just gonna have to find out when we go on and on and on and on and on. You know what I'm saying? But we were some smart ass creatures, and we were some smart ass. We were some smart ass students, because we remember it mentioned that we were in college, and we also found out more information about us. Yay! So we found out we were a student, college student, traveled across seas to go to college, had some people we knew that we call friends that aren't actually friends, especially when they left us abandoned. Yes. And yeah, so they were having some type of damn party, and then we presumed we got drunk, and then all of a sudden we turned into a damn pom-pom with a nail as a face. So with a pointy nail as a face. So yeah, that's all the information we really got so far. So yeah, now we're named Pom-Pom. That's our name. New pom-poms. Nice. Pretty much. Nice. Nice. Anyways, by the way, so everyone can stay updated with the playlist. I will be adding playlists to this, like the playlist that I add these stories in almost every single video. So you guys can keep track of it, and you guys don't have to look deep into my normal video. You guys could just look into the playlist and see what's the newest updated version of the chapter, if it's completed or it's finished, etc. The playlist for this fanfiction is right there on the screen. You can go ahead and save that playlist if you want. Check it out once in a while, because trust me, we will be reading this for like, maybe I'm not gonna say a while, because I've already read 7 chapters, and under, like, for me it's probably like not that much time as it is on the video, but it's not as long as I expected, because compared to like X Virus, that would take me 2 chapters, 1 to 2, or like 3 chapters would take me about an hour to read, which has already been proven. So yeah. Anyways, yo girls, sadly gotta go. I do hope you guys did enjoy this so far. It's gonna get good. I'm telling you guys, it's gonna get good. And if you guys want to read this on your own, it's alright. You can go ahead. No hate, no shade. The link will be in the description below, and if you can't find it, the author's user will be in the description as well, so you guys can look for the author and find the story easy peasy. And if you're wondering what the title of the story is, it is the same thing as the title I post for the videos. Except for maybe 1 or 2 parts where it's listener and how many chapters I read. But that's it. That's it. That's all I change about it. Anyways, now your girls gotta officially go. I know, it's so sad to leave, but I do hope I see you guys in the next futurist video. Bye and peace.